Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, a trio of French diplomats are kicked out of Burkina Faso, accused of subversive activities. Paris says the reasons given for the move don't stand up as relations between the countries take yet another turn for the worse. Also, weather experts say that deadly temperatures across West Africa are undoubtedly caused by climate change. The extreme heat has gripped many Sahelian countries, causing hundreds or perhaps even thousands of deaths. Also, the sounds of symphony continue to envelop Kinshasa as the classical orchestra that was the first of its kind in the region contributes to enthralling audiences. The Kibanguist Ensemble plays a combination of European classics and African compositions. But first, 3 French diplomats were given 48 hours to leave Burkina Faso on Thursday after having been declared persona non grata by the ruling junta. The trio have been accused of subversive activities, allegations that Paris denies. Relations between the two countries have been unravelling since 2022. Our regional correspondent, Justice Baidu, tells us more.
2 of these diplomats are said to be political advisors. They have now been given 48 hours within which they must leave the West African country. The military junta that is currently ruling in Burkina Faso accuses them of engaging in subversive activities, but fails to go any further in giving details as to exactly what they have done. French authorities have rejected the allegations, saying they are unfounded and lack any legal merit. This is the latest in a series of diplomatic rows that have happened between France and Burkina Faso. Since the military junta took power in September 2022, they have taken deliberate steps to distance Burkina Faso from France. French troops have been expelled from the country. A military pact that dates back to the 1960s have been cancelled. The country has also ceased using French as its official language, and the French ambassador to Burkina Faso has also been expelled.
Well, the head of Kenya's military is amongst 9 people killed in a helicopter crash on Thursday. The aircraft came down just minutes after takeoff from a school in West Pokot County. 2 soldiers survived, but Military Chief General Francis Ogola was amongst those lost. An investigation's been launched, and President William Ruto's paid his respects to those lost.
Our motherland has lost one of her most valiant generals. We have also lost gallant officers, servicemen and women. The demise of General Ogola is a painful loss to me, and certainly the sorrow we all feel about this passing on is shared by all of the people of Kenya.
Well, the UN's human rights chief has flagged concern that abuses committed amidst the context of DR Congo's conflict with M23 rebels in the east are not receiving enough global attention. Volker Turks met with people displaced by the crisis during a visit to the country this week. Our Emmett Livingston is in Kinshasa. He brings us more.
Eastern Congo continues to be plagued by brutal violence, with over 1 million people displaced, many of whom are barely surviving in squalid displacement camps. On Thursday, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk said during a visit to Congo that it broke his heart to see how extremely exhausted and traumatized the civilian population is. He's visiting Congo as swathes of the east are occupied by the M23 rebel group, which is backed by Rwanda. The rebels also surround the eastern city of Goma. Facing the M23 are a hodgepodge of local militias, the Congolese army, and regional troops. Among the many rights issues connected to the conflict, High Commissioner Turk pointed to one in particular, the involvement of children, which has plagued Congo in the past.
The use of child soldiers and recruitment of children is a huge concern. Actually, when I talked to people yesterday in Goma, they were telling me that how recruitment is happening. And it's happening in very insidious ways. And also, let's not forget that the socio-economic situation, because of the violence, because of the conflict, is so desperate that young people are an easy prey for those who want to take advantage of them.
According to the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, child recruitment was the most prevalent rights violation in 2023 in the DRC, with over 1,500 verified cases. During his visit, High Commissioner Turk also underlined that the UN opposes the death penalty in all its forms. The Congolese government has recently reintroduced capital punishment, in part due to the catastrophic situation in the east.
The devastating dry weather being suffered in the Sahel is unquestionably a result of climate change caused by human behaviour. This unequivocal statement by the World Weather Attribution highlights the continent's vulnerability to and the devastating consequences of global warming. The start of April saw temperatures top 45 degrees Celsius in parts of Mali and Burkina Faso. Claire Mvala tells us more.
It's West Africa's worst heat wave in living memory. Since late March, the region has been plagued by scorching temperatures, averaging above 40 degrees Celsius. Day or night, there is no respite for the victims, like this woman who was hospitalized in Niger due to the heat.
Because of the heat, the doctor told us she's missing about 4 liters of water. She's not drinking enough water, they said. We've been here for 10 days.
In Mali and Burkina Faso, temperatures soared above 45 degrees Celsius between the 1st and the 5th of April. According to a report by World Weather Attribution, temperatures were so high they equated to a once-in-200-year event. The severity of the heatwave led WWA's team of climate scientists to conduct a rapid analysis, which concluded that temperatures would not have been reached were it not for human dependency on fossil fuels.
Really, without human-induced global warming, these temperatures wouldn't have been possible. So in a pre-industrial climate, we wouldn't expect to see heat waves of this intensity at all.
A lack of data in the affected countries made it impossible to know the exact number of deaths, the WWA said, adding there were likely hundreds, if not thousands, of other heat-related casualties. According to the group, with the current trajectory we are on, these extreme temperatures are set to become more commonplace, and we will have to get used to it.
Nestle, one of the world's largest consumer goods companies, has been accused of adding sugar and honey to infant milk and cereal products across large parts of the global south, including in Africa. An investigation by the Swiss organisation Private Eye says that in Switzerland, where Nestle is headquartered, and other key European markets, products are sold with no added sugar. Long-term damage is caused by feeding sugary products to infants. Sam Bradpeace tells us more from Dakar.
This latest research from Public Eye comes with a very clear message. Nestle must stop adding sugar to products aimed at infants. The study showed that the Swiss consumer giant had been adding sugar to things like baby cereal and infant milk across the global south, here in Senegal, but also in countries like Nigeria and South Africa as well. At the same time, Nestle hadn't been adding sugar to equivalent products sold in European markets. This toxic commercial practice flies in the face of all guidance from the WHO and other public health bodies. Sugar, particularly when given to infants, increases their risk of developing diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and other non-communicable diseases later in life. It's a highly addictive substance, and giving it to young children increases their risk of essentially getting a taste for it. The UN estimates that 39 million children under the age of 5 worldwide are either obese or overweight. Africa has seen a 23% increase in the number of obese and overweight children under the age of 5 since the turn of the century. The activities of companies like Nestle and other multinational giants, which draw in huge profits, are certainly not making the situation better.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Kibanguiste Symphony Orchestra is set to spotlight African classics at a major concert scheduled for the 20th of April. 30 years ago, it became the first orchestra of its kind, founded in Central Africa. And today, its 200 musicians still often rehearse European classical music, but they're increasingly showcasing more Congolese compositions. Our team reports.
Between the sounds of motorbike engines and car horns in Kinshasa's Ngiri neighborhood, you can also make out the slightest strains of classical music. Johnny practices scales on his bassoon, an instrument he taught himself to play over 30 years ago.
There was no teacher, no coach, no book on it, and also it's an instrument that's known in this country because Congolese music has nothing to do with the bassoon or the clarinet and all that. And when I picked it up, I was curious to see what it sounded like.
Johnny's love of music led him to join the Kibanguiste Symphony Orchestra. It's the best-known orchestra in Central Africa, founded in 1994 by Maestro Armand Diengenda. More than 200 musicians and singers now make up the group. Today at the conservatory, there's a dress rehearsal ahead of the orchestra's next concert.
We don't have to continue the note there. Let's put in a caesura.
The conductor is laser-focused on getting the notes pitch perfect, and nothing escapes the expert ear of the man whom the musicians nickname Papa Armand.
These are church tunes that we've adapted for the recording. 90% is our own repertoire. We feel we have to promote our own culture, our own music.
The Congolese compositions weave together melodies with subtlety and virtuosity. Mona is a piece sung in Kikongo, one of the country's national languages. The Congolese repertoire demonstrates the orchestra's enthusiasm for classical music as a universal heritage.
Oh, it's given me chills. Well, that's it, though, for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again if you can. Till then, take care.